Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back. I hope after a solid rest, after a good lunch and some prayer, salat, inshallah we'll be able now to continue with our series of presentations on my part this afternoon. Inshallah, I will speak briefly about this topic that I have here, some ethical issues in current theories and practices of cross-cultural knowledge transfer. So the main, the key words phrases here, first is knowledge transfer. And that knowledge transfer is cross-cultural, meaning from one culture to another culture. And then there are several theories about knowledge transfer. And of course practices, abundant practices of cross-cultural transfer. And what are the issues? There are certainly epistemological issues, ethical issues. What I intend to concentrate my presentation on is basically these ethical issues that are related to epistemological issues. Just the overview, the immediate background of the paper. Despite this focus being planned quite some time ago, but my paper was not decided until very recently. So that's unfortunate, you know. I didn't organize it, but haven't come up with precisely what the paper that I would like to present. But anyway, I'll tell you afterward. So the immediate background of the paper. The second thing is current theories and practices of cross-cultural knowledge transfer. Issues of ethics of knowledge from Islamic perspectives, implications for this what I call ummatic identity in community development. Simply, what it means that identity of the ummah, and some concluding remarks. Yeah, the immediate background of the paper is actually like this. I mean, I have some other ideas to present during this conference, but recently I was with Dr. Omar Kasule in Riyadh. I visited Saudi Arabia, so I was in Riyadh, and then I was in Medina, and then I was in Jeddah. So in Jeddah, I visited and had conversations at IDB in Jeddah, and then the Institute of Islamic Economics. Sorry? No, Institute of Islamic Economics. No, Institute of Economics. And also OIC. Basically, there was a conversation with an official of this Jeddah-based Islamic Development Bank, who was simply saying that, well, I have a lot of issues that I want to discuss with you, very practical issue, because I'm an official working on the ground. In a sense, I'm caught in between. I mean, on one side we have the organization, the individuals, the groups who are passing the various kinds of concepts in the name of Islam to me, and then I have to translate that into some practical project, and then of course I receive feedback from the people. So basically, I mean, what it was raising issues arising from the interface of theory and practice in development. Theory and practice in development. And at one point he said, I'm confused. I mean, I've been here for quite a long time, but I don't see what's the difference between this Islamic thing, what I'm seeing on the ground. He raised that issue. And you talk about this is the name of this bank is Islamic Development Bank. But sometimes I don't know what is the difference between this IDB and other development banks. I don't know, Brother Siddiq, I mean, you know better what to respond to this person. But I'm just coming here. So issues arising from the interface of theory and practice. And he said officials working on the ground face the real problem of how to translate given Islamic concepts into development projects. So you have attended courses on Makassar Sharia. All right, we have, I mean, but what does it mean for us as an officer working on the ground? What this means to us in practice? We do not yet have the grasp. And so I thought this was, why not? I said, why not you all academics come up with so many concepts, try to resolve this issue. And I told him about this meeting, our meeting here, focus. Okay, it looks like the topic that you want to, the theme of the conference, looks is relevant to our needs. As I said, please discuss this. Tell us when you finish in Brunei. Tell us, bring up the issue that I'm raising now. I said, bring up this issue now. Please discuss and see what sort of thing that you can bring back to us in Jeddah. Okay. So basically, and I said, he went on to say, basically said issues of Islamicity, Islamic, and you heard the word Islamic. So it concerned the issue of Islamicity, and this morning, Dr. Tariq Ramadan and Dr. Omar has discussed these issues. So I said, what are the differences? This question, I just a little paraphrasing of what he said. What are the differences between a development project, his concentration is development project, what is the difference between a development project that's Islamic and a development project that is not Islamic? So this is a question I'm conveying to you from him. We'll discuss. So, related to that, he brought up the question of knowledge transfer. And because for that reason, I want to, because I thought that the idea of knowledge transfer is very important because it raises issues. Yeah. So, before talking about the theories here and the practices, the concept, the notion of knowledge transfer itself. What do you mean? So this is not a new subject. Knowledge transfer is not a new subject. But on the hand, it is, I mean, the last word has not been said about this, and certainly, I think, precisely because since that concept was introduced decades ago, concerned with this development, the development landscape over the different countries, in the different stage of development, other new terms came up later, which have also to do with knowledge transfer. I'll give an example, globalization. Globalization. Certainly that word, globalization, appeared well after the process of knowledge transfer or the phenomena of knowledge transfer has been talked about. And we know that the word globalization is in the kind of translation of the Japanese word. It was Japan which brought up first the idea that of globalization, more in connection with the globalization of their products, basically their motor car, basically, okay, we want to make sure that Japanese cars will find their markets all over the world. But in order to do that, we have to make adjustments to the local conditions. So a Honda made for an American customer could not be the same in everything as the Honda produced for Indonesians or for Malaysians. Yeah? So the what is implied here, what is important to us now to consider is the idea of knowledge as a commodity. That's what I call here, and certainly people have used this. I'm not the originator of this. Commodification of knowledge. What is meant by this? Knowledge is viewed as a commodity. I only had the advantage a few years back. The new club of Paris, which is concerned with knowledge economy, the idea of knowledge as a product, organized a small group discussion in Kuala Lumpur, organized by the former Prime Minister, Tun Mahathir, and I happened to be invited to that discussion to kind of provide a response from the viewpoint of Islam to this concept of knowledge economy. So, in other words, the idea of knowledge transfer maybe is related, of course. Also, the concept of knowledge as a commodity. So, knowledge viewed as a commodity. Though what was emphasized in that new club of Paris meeting, it was more about kind of intangible products in economy. Yeah? We are looking for the 21st century economy when knowledge itself becomes a commodity that is traded, that is being a thing. Yeah. So that's meant by that, the notion of knowledge transfer. So the idea of relative poverty of some societies, some countries, relative poverty or underdevelopment in knowledge as a prevailing reality in many countries, societies and communities. Transfer of knowledge as an ongoing process, as dictated by the dynamics of national development itself, which is generally viewed from the idea as kind of knowledge transfer from the haves to the have-nots. Yeah? So it's not just the actual concrete object products like technical products or economic products, but here knowledge itself. Now, this is some. I mean, this has been going on also. This issue of cross-cultural knowledge transfer, value-free enterprise or not. So I would describe this question as belonging to the domain of to the branch of knowledge called applied epistemology, basically. Yeah, because I think. We need to look at the concept of knowledge transfer also from the viewpoint of epistemology. I think we are quite aware of this question of concept of value free or not. Then there's the need to examine. When I say that the issue of knowledge transfer belongs to applied epistemology, I think we need to examine the various contexts of knowledge production. The context. There are those who maintain that knowledge is neutral, or is value free, and therefore it can be transported from one culture to another without involving the issue of values. But viewed from the viewpoint of epistemology, I think there's a need. I think to look deeper. I think it is not as obvious as that. It is not. Certainly, we need to think harder, to look deeper into the issue of knowledge production, especially knowledge as not an individual activity, but as a collective activity, as a group activity, especially as a collective activity that possesses certain common values. Yeah? So, for example, geographical. So what is the geographical context of knowledge production? Is it the same everywhere? Or cultural context, especially the prevailing mindset or belief system? Does the common mindset or belief system of any society or community has influence or not? Does it have influence or not? Does it shape or not? Does it color or not the product of our activity? Yeah? And then of course the economic, that's another thing, the economic conditions. So I just raised that issue for about, and now let me just so what I mean by go deeper into the question of geographical condition. So if you are concerned with knowledge product that can be transferred from one country to another, society another, different culture, from one culture to another. If we look at geographical condition, I think there's a merit for this case. I give you example the case of Japan and Turkey, two countries that are prone to earthquakes. Now, we go to Japan. We study, those architects go to Japan to study the architectural knowledge that the Japanese have. So what is the ingredient in the architectural knowledge of other societies that are free of earthquake compared with them, with the knowledge they have? Obviously there is, because they had to come up with better and better kind of knowledge that can withstand the severest of earthquakes. I think, and Turkey is looking more serious now into this issue. So after Istanbul, after Saudi Arabia, I went to Istanbul at meetings with Marmara University. So Marmara University was telling us that they are going to have a new campus, a very big campus, but this time they are giving big priority to earthquake. In other words, to buildings that be able, to stand the impact of earthquake in Istanbul. So that's the kind of thing. In other words, there, the same building block, the same kind of material perhaps, but then in terms of the overall design of the product, the kind of requiring a kind of material science that takes into consideration the geographical factor. This reminds me of in Malaysia itself. In Malaysia, when I'm talking here about the 1970s. The 1970s, here talking a different knowledge product. This time it is engineering knowledge, particularly civil engineering knowledge concerned with building of roads, bridges. Many of our engineers in Malaysia, also in Brunei, many of our engineers went to study in England with different kind of climate. In the 1970s, geographical conditions, climatic conditions were not part of the syllabus, were not part of the engineering syllabus. Yeah? But then the climate of England is not the same of the climate of Malaysia. Malaysia has plenty of rain and so on. So when you build road, so engineering, road engineering has to be concerned with this specific climatic condition. But that was not in the mind. That was in the mindset. That was not given the due place in the design of engineering curriculum. It's as if that engineering is engineering. I mean, you can do that. But now it's different. 30 years later, of course, any engineering student who wants to be a civil engineer must know about this. It is part of that knowledge product. Yeah. I remember many people were discussing just ordinary people in Malaysia. But why? Because Malaysia exported a lot of grass from Korea. They have to, they have to make highways, and then they have to cut the slopes, and then plant this imported grass. What was the complaint? The complaint is, you mean God has not created anything for Malaysians that does not require them to import grass in order to make sure that the slopes of the hills can withstand rains and so on. Yeah? And they will refer to the Malay proverb. Yeah? Macam aur dengan tebing, aur dengan tebing. Why aur dengan tebing? Because bamboo has that has certain characteristics that enable them together, when you plant that, can withstand, can hold the slope together. But nobody cares about what is the value of abundant bamboos that God gave to Malaysia. In other words, the question here, how much we give the geographical context of the production of any knowledge product. We give any serious thought about that or not? Yeah, I think I believe that in every land that God has created something that belongs to kind of the indigenous resources that if we investigate, we do research on that, there must be the reason why God created that for that particular country. But I'm saying, of course, now there is a change attitude, better attitude towards this to recognize the indigenous products, but not before. Before kind of when the belief in the kind of value-free knowledge was very, very strong. That's it. I mean, we don't have to give consideration. So, yeah. And then, of course, we have the religious or cultural determinants. I think it's also important. For example, the Muslim preference for halal product, whether one agree or not with what is the epistemic status or the Sharia status of this issue. The point is, I think culture is important in determining preferences for various kinds of products, food and otherwise. And then this means that when we want to address the issue of this so-called knowledge transfer, we need to examine the ingredients of knowledge products. Yeah? That the ingredients of knowledge products can be made better and better in terms of quality. Just like, I mean, the motor cars, we produce cars that maybe they're better and better and better. So in the same thing with this, I think what standards provide is a holistic view of knowledge, which means that this enables us to think about the idea of knowledge product that will meet a high ethical standard, ensure a wholesome product for consumers, and guarantee a minimal environmental impact. Now, this here I just summarize here and refer to absolute universalism, globalization, Islamization, and indigenization. Some of the concepts that have been put forward when people talk about the relationship between values and knowledge. What I mean by absolute universalism is the belief that all knowledge products are value-free. A knowledge product is totally free of the beliefs and values of each person. No matter what their beliefs, is going to end up with exactly the same kind of knowledge product. And then, what's the implication of this belief? Well, knowledge product is transferable from its producers to its consumers in a different cultural environment without the need for modification. Then, I refer just now to globalization. This is the belief, a knowledge product that is by necessity of a localized origin can only become globalized if it is modified to suit different local conditions. And then, of course, Islamization. The subject of Islamization has been talked about much in many Muslim countries, and there has been also controversies. I think this is one of several Muslim responses to the dominance of Western originated knowledge and knowledge products. I can see that there are views about Islamization that will not do justice to the subject of knowledge transfer that came about. Issues of ethics of knowledge from Islamic perspective, and insistence on a holistic view of knowledge products, which is a dictate of the Tawhidi perspective. I think the belief in Tawhid, the correct understanding of it would demand a holistic view of knowledge product, and then a knowledge product is to be governed by multiple considerations: ethical, scientific, health, including its side effects, environmental, and so on. Now, when we talk about the issue of ethics of knowledge, I think we need to refer to the Islamic view about this. What I mean is that dua that which is the Prophet ﷺ used to make, the dua. There is such a thing as unbeneficial knowledge which does not benefit. I seek protection from knowledge which is not beneficial. So epistemologically it is true, it may be true, it is true knowledge, but then in terms of the value for human consumption, they may not be beneficial. So I think this is important from the collective point of view, because it is related to the issue of priority in knowledge. Every society has to give priority, including in the field of knowledge production, knowledge consumption. Our priorities may not be the same as the priority of another culture. So this belongs again to applied Islamic epistemology, which is concerned with knowledge categories and their ranks. Now, preference, certainly in Islam, preference for knowledge products, they would have guarantee optimum contribution to the attainment of Makassar Sharia. Since much has been said already this morning by Dr. Osman Bakar, so I'll just maintain that. I mean, for us to bear in mind and to give deeper thought. Yeah? And then, precisely, whatever we do must be evaluated in the light of the attainment of this Maqasid Sharia. That, in a sense, define the parameters of priority, in a sense. And then, of course, happiness as a fundamental indicator of societal development and progress. I know Professor Mulyadi is going to talk about that in a more detailed way, because he wants to talk about philosophy of the ethics from the viewpoint of philosophy. But here I'm just saying something as something more concrete, some more practical. Happiness as a fundamental indicator. Dr. Al-Bakri from Singapore, he is here. Singapore has already made happiness as one index. You should tell us, I mean, how do you measure happiness? But anyway, Singapore, it's all related to one man called the King of Bhutan. He made a speech in Parliament in the United Nations. He said, we're talking about these different kinds of GNP, about the national product, and so where is happiness? Where is happiness? That is the most important thing, the commodity. So I think Singapore is trying to.
Yeah, we're not happy yet.
Yeah, I know you're unhappy. You're unhappy that. Yeah, I'm sure you're happy when you have statistics showing people committing suicide getting bigger. That means everything is not well. Yeah. Okay. Finally, and then the implications for ummatic identity in community. If we believe in the concept of the ummah that our tradition has taught us, yeah. If we believe that the Muslim ummah, the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ has an identity, then I think it is meaningful to talk about ummah identity and about the implications. So the Muslim ummah as a knowledge community founded on two fundamental principles: the absolute unity of God and the inclusive messengership of Muhammad ﷺ. This is our knowledge community. And I venture to claim that Tawhidic epistemology based on Tawhid, is the main sustainer of ummatic identity by virtue of the fact that the Muslim Ummah is a knowledge community. More than any other, our Ummah is a knowledge community. The reason that of the Muslim Ummah is decided to emphasize this Tawhidic epistemology. So, without that Tawhidic epistemology in its good form, it cannot sustain. So, if our Ummah right now is in trouble, is not healthy, it is because some of the fundamental elements of Tawhidic epistemology are missing from us. So we need to restore that lost dimension of epistemology, of Tawhidic epistemology. And the provision, Islam provide ways and means by which immutable values could be transmitted across generations. I think the best thing, the most significant thing about Islam is that it is able to balance to provide the balance between immutable values and the changing values, between the permanent kind of knowledge and the changing kind of knowledge. And that is the role of our education system, to provide that balance in a practical way. Change and development in the light of permanent, the pursuit and development of fardu kifayah knowledge on the basis of fardu ain knowledge. The dynamic relationship between ummatic identity and Muslim community development. We want development, but we want development that will also guarantee our ummatic identity without in any way being antagonistic to other religious, to other cultural identities. Ummatic identity is a positive force for change and development, a shaper of holistic and sustainable development. How community development can strengthen ummatic identity? This needs to be looked into. And my concluding remark, the current mainstream understanding and practice of cross-cultural knowledge transfer in the pursuit of development raise issues pertaining to the identity and well-being of the Muslim Ummah. These issues need to be addressed in the light of the essential characteristics of the Muslim ummatic identity, which are closely related to Islamic epistemology. The idea of the Muslim Ummah as a knowledge community needs to be reasserted in our contemporary world. Wallahu a'lam. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
First of all, I would like to invite the second speaker, Professor Dr. Azhar, for his presentation on cross-cultural studies, Islamic perspective. Before that, we have just 10 minutes for this. We have 10 minutes with Professor Datuk Osman. We'd like first to thank him for this very illuminating presentation on the transfer of knowledge, some ethical issues in current theories and practices of cross-cultural knowledge transfer. And for his, again, illuminating presentation regarding commodification of knowledge, the relative poverty in knowledge, what we call also knowledge divide, and whether knowledge is neutral or not, and knowledge as a collective activity, as well as the geographical and cultural context of knowledge when it is transferred from one society into another. But I believe the thorny and complex questions which are raised by the professor in the very beginning are still there. That is, how to translate basic Islamic concepts into sustainable developmental projects, as well as what are the differences between the Islamic and non-Islamic developmental projects, and I think we are here to attempt to answer this question in a broad discussion. So please. So,
one session.
Professor Osman suggests that Professor Azhar will talk first, and then we do the discussion, inshallah, afterwards. Please.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi rasulillahi ajma'in, amma ba'du. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. I'm going to talk about cross-cultural studies. Professor Barna of Portland State University said that the aim of studying cross-cultural studies is to determine the standards of behaving necessary for successful communication and relationships and healthy relationships among people in the world in accordance with existing theories, and to obtain a general overview of the role of perceptions, the role of belief systems, value systems, and language, customs, as well as traditions, lifestyle, preferences, prejudice, stereotypes, ethnocentrism, sentiment, and empathy, and cross-cultural communication at large. This is as far as Professor